Hello YouTube, welcome back to another instalment of our suspension rebuild. We're going to pull apart the units that were on my car, but before we do that we have our yellow bucket, which, if you recall, we dunked the metal sleeves etc. in there. They've been in there for about 50 hours or so. So let's have a look and see how well it's worked, if at all. So I'll bring you in closer and we'll have a look on the table. Right, you should be able to see this, I hope. There's the first one. That was the one that was very, very rusty, if you recall. And I think you'll agree. I mean, it doesn't help you any with bad corrosion like that, or the crushed threads, but you've seen the amount of metal it's got rid of. This was our better one, which I think you will agree looks pretty good. Bit of grit needs cleaning out of there, but pretty good. We have a rusty end, which is no longer rusty, and a couple of, still got a bit of grease on, and a couple of rubber mounting plates. That's our damaged nut, which I threw in anyway, just for a laugh, to see how it came out. Now, having seen the state all of these are in to begin with, they've come out exceptionally well, and with absolutely no effort whatsoever. So I'm going to dry them off now. I'm going to wire brush them on the wire wheel and then apply a protective coating to stop them rusting again. So I'll show you them when they've been done. Right, there you are. The backing pieces for the rubber can get painted, probably wheel silver or whatever. They can be painted in wheel silver. You could paint the nuts as well if you wished. Can't paint the sleeves because of the threads. So I think they and they will get treated for storage, and they will go away for painting. To keep them in storage, well, I've got a solution of thinned down wax oil in a plastic bag. Make sure you get all of it covered. And that'll stop it rusting until you're ready to use them. Because at the end of the day, where they are under my car at least, they will end up getting soaked in wax oil anyway. So I can now safely seal that up and forget about it till I need them. I mean, I'll show you the painted ones when I've done them. I mentioned when I was putting the wax oil on the other stuff, you can always give the metal a quick coat of silver, wheel silver, just to protect it, and bolt them on like that. It, you know, looks all right. And then we have our rubber bungs. So cleaned off the rubber, and there is a raised section around there, and we're going to use some French super glue, because super glue is pretty good at bonding this sort of rubber. I've used it before. Just a few little dots. It's Soudal's extra strong, extra thick, which I prefer in the workshop to ordinary super glue. It just seems easier to control. And then we're going to stick them back in there, like so, shedding bits of rubber on the way. Make sure they're all the way in, which they are. So there you are, a bit of something and nothing really, a bit of nonsense. But if you imagine them on the front of your cans, it'll look a bit better than just leaving them in bare metal and covered in wax oil, I suppose. Just you choose. The next part of our rebuild bit is an investigation, because I need to know why the old units were seized solid. And there they are. Now this end was new, so I'm going to grind that off carefully like I did on the other video, pull it out, and we'll see what we can see. So I'll bring you back when that's ready to come out, because there's no point you watching me grind all that off again when you've seen it in the previous video. That would be a waste of everyone's time. Just before we start grinding, I should mention, always wear eye protection. It doesn't take much to damage your eyes. You only get one set, so look after them. So make sure you always wear adequate protection when you're grinding. Gloves as well, long-sleeved cotton clothing. Try and pull the rod this time. It separated under its own spring pressure, which of course it shouldn't do. So let's have a look and see what we've got in there. It's all very hot at the minute, but I'll try and get it apart. That's a new end cap, which we can reuse. And there is our spring. And as suspected, the cup is seized in the cylinder. Right, now then. That is a problem. How am I going to deal with this? I don't know is the answer. I'll turn you off, I'll have a think about it. Right, the cup is stuck in the cylinder and will not pull out. I've tried clamping it in a vise and hitting it with a block of wood, and it's not wanting to move. So I'm going to have to remove this end now, hope I can get this one out, and then try and drive that one out with a rod through the middle, a bar through the middle, something through the middle. I now have an inkling as to what's wrong, but we shall see more clearly when we get it out. And the only way I can think to get them out is to suspend the pot from the vise, and then, using a piece of wood, knock them down. Keep spinning them to try and equalise any effort. It's very nearly out. So I'll try tugging the last bit. Right. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. Cup of tea over. We now have the problem of how do we get that spring and cup out. I've tried knocking it down, just bouncing up and down, because no chance. So our only option is to get the angle grinder out again, take that off, and then put a block of wood through the tube and knock it out. So that's what we're going to do next. You can see the cup, hopefully, stuck down there. So now we're going to put it on the floor, and we're going to use a piece of wood on this side of it, which is the flat side, not the cup side, and drive it through and out. That is what is called the theory. Nice wide piece of wood, so it fits as close as possible to the outside of the cup, where it is of course at its strongest. Give it a go. Right, it's coming out at a slight angle, so there it is. Right, let's clean it up and have a look. Finally apart. So, that's our original, as you saw previously, riveted on. These are the ones I got in France, which are hard nylon, which is glued on. Now, if we put that on there and try and centralise it, I don't know if you can see that, but that is just about a couple of milli more all the way around, which is enough to have made them stick. In fact, I shall get a can. This is our low mileage original can, and that fits with a reasonable amount of give, and that fits with very little give, which is how I remember them going in, but probably not quite as tight as that. So it looks like this nylon must have swollen slightly, maybe with the friction of them being slightly too tight, I don't know. But the other thing I've noticed, and I'll see that I could be making this up, so we shall get some measuring gear and have a look, because I think even the friction material on these is uneven. 5.82, 5.79, try there, 5.24, right, as suspected, they're not even round. Now, I was warned about these nylon cups before I bought them, because I know somebody who had one fall apart inside the cylinder, disintegrated. But I spoke to the French supplier, and he insisted he had no problems, never had any come back, and they had proven to be very reliable. I don't think you can buy them like this anymore. I think the latest ones come with them riveted on and split like the originals. But I don't know. Check with your supplier is the answer to that one. So, the friction material is uneven in diameter. So now let's have a look and see just how bad it is. Get that about right. I might as well let you see this if I can. So that's about 106.24. You can probably see that better than me because I'm leaning over the side. $108. So there's not a lot in it, but it's enough. It's enough to give you, as I said, the difference between that, which gives you a little bit of leeway, and that, which gives you virtually none. So, what we're going to do? Well, I already have a pair on the car, as you know. I've got a pair of cans I'm going to make up using them. So this will be the second backup set, so the third set of cans. Please excuse me, I'm losing my voice today for some reason. Luckily, my next door neighbour has a lathe, so I'm going to show him these and get him to whip a millimetre all the way round on each of them. Maybe 2. I'll get him to measure them up. He's an old engineer, so I'll let him do the measuring, see what he comes up with. But basically, that's the issue. Cheap, badly manufactured cups. Mind you, having said that, in my defence, and in their defence, these were on offer at the time, and I think I paid about €25. I had the option of buying original type ones, which I think were cassis ones, I can't remember, I think they were cassis ones, and they were about €95. So, as I'm tight, I went for them. And we all know now what's happened. Right, anyway, we can now get on to rebuilding a pot and show you how it all goes back together. There are a couple of preliminary jobs before we assemble our pot. Our cleaned cups need to be soaked overnight. It should be in castor oil. This is vegetable oil. I know lots of people have used it, as I said before in another video. I'm quite happy to use it. So they need to soak, certainly overnight. And then it depends on the type of end you get, because that's an original one. And as you can see, it has a deep goldeny sort of bush, which originally would have been oilite. And if you get them with an oilite bush, that's got to be soaked in engine oil overnight. In fact, I think Citra might even say 24 hours. Anyway, you've got to soak it at least overnight, preferably 24 hours. Cheap replacements like that, this, have a pressed in bush, and that clearly isn't oilite. I don't know what it is, but it clearly isn't oilite. So I'm just going to grease that. Your felt ring should also be pre-soaked. I would soak them in engine oil. And again, considering the felt, a couple of hours would have thought would be more than enough for them. And then we need to get our pot. Let me refocus you a little bit, because this is a lot bigger than those last items. So there's our pot. There is our AV. The end is still in that end, minus its bush. It's felt washer, sorry, not its bush. It's felt washer. So we have a pre-soaked felt washer. Just be carefully fed into its little slot. Like so, and pushed into place. Lovely. So the end with the cap still on is obviously the rear. So we now have to go and find our rear rod and our rear spring. Let's see what we've got. We have a cleaned up rod. And a second cleaned up rod. And as you can see, hopefully, yes, I think you can, this one is longer. So that is the back rod. So now we have to find our rear spring. There's our springs. As you see, there's a short one and a long one. Short one goes to the rear, 170 milli long, so it should be. So that goes to one side. So we have our short one, and we need to look at our factory workshop manual to see the way the springs slope. So if we turn that round, no we don't, sorry, I'm going mad, yes I do, so it matches the diagram, sorry. So there's the front now, there's the back, so the springs slope backwards, like so. Yeah, happy with that? I am. So then, we need to take our cup and I've got some very heavy grease, I mean properly heavy grease, just to hold everything together. Now I'm not going to put any oil in here yet because it's, as you will see, it needs welding up. So there we go, that goes in like that. Yeah. Let me just check we can still see everything I'm doing. And then we need to feed this through the tube. Like so. Put that down there now. So again, we take our rod, apply some grease to the cup, a bit more I think. Our cup, and in our springs with the coils, again referring to the way the coils sit. See how they're leaning backwards, leaning backwards. Oh no, I've got that the wrong way around. Don't matter. There we go. I laid it out back to front. Like so. Still with our coils leaning backwards, which is correct. And that needs to be carefully inserted. Like so. And then we have our closing cup, which I'm just going to grease in there just to ease the passage of the suspension tube. That sits in there like that, like so. Square it up the best you can. I think that's pretty square. And then you need to weld it up, which I cannot do here because I don't have a welder here. So that's all you're going to see of it, because I'll have to take it to my workshop elsewhere where the welder resides, along with all my other heavier equipment, and I will weld that together. Right, that's the cap welded in place. I'm now just going to give it a quick brush over with some wax oil soaked under seal just to black it up. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is one final piece, and I'm going to turn you off and move you around to show you it. In an earlier video I showed you the witness marks, and somebody who looked at it said, oh, they look a bit rough. It's just because it was super magnified on the screen. But anyway, I have run down all the threads in the tie bars with an appropriate die to make sure they're perfect all the way down, which they are. There's nothing wrong with them at all. Perfectly usable. And then the final thing is, because I'm not using these immediately and they're going into storage, I will be filling them with quite a lot of edge oil and rolling it about and tipping it up and down left to right to make sure the whole of the inside is completely filled with vegetable oil. So everything is well protected during its time in storage. So that finally is that. And that's how your suspension pot goes back together. So that's pretty much it. I will show you the other original one of mine if I manage to get the cups machined in time before this video is due out. If not, then this will be the end of the video. But there you go, that's how you overhaul your pots.